on Wednesday of the Produced Water Society conference here at Horseshoe Arena in Midland. I am very, very fortunate to have Ed with me from Produced Water Solutions, and we're just going to kind of chat it up a little bit. And Ed, tell me a little bit about what your company does.
So we're historically when we started the company, we were primarily produced water, really focused on West Texas, New Mexico, and more Gulf of Mexico than anything else. About 6 years ago, we divested and expanded into other markets. So right now, my biggest market is international oil and gas. We still service Gulf of Mexico. We do West Texas. We also do some food and beverage.
Mhm.
We just finished a rubber glove factory on the East Coast, some lithium extraction. We're doing some chlorine dioxide.
Mhm.
So we are really a complete water company. So um, we're not just a company that sells equipment, but we take what the customer is wanting and then we manipulate the equipment to meet that need.
And that, of course, is very challenging because all water is different.
All water is different.
All water is
Yep.
different. And how is that different from, let's say, some other people who are in the space who are also out here in the Permian Basin and also do water treatment?
What's different is that most of those companies are suppliers of equipment.
Mhm.
So they don't always necessarily build their own equipment. They'll buy it, rebrand it, and then they'll provide a service to run that equipment. What's unique about us is we can provide a service. We have a full service team, but we specialize in actually designing the equipment or designing a process train to meet the process needs that the customer has. And we sell a lot of equipment to our competitors,
Mhm.
and they'll rebrand it for certain applications.
Right,
So,
right. Well,
um,
that makes sense,
yeah,
right? I mean, I think what is it they said back in the gold rush? The
yeah,
only ones who really got rich were the ones selling the picks and the axes,
that's right. That's
right?
right.
So I would rather
Yeah,
sell the picks and the
yeah,
axes.
yeah. COVID hurt a lot of water companies because they had to lay off people and they lost a lot of the people who knew about the intellectual property.
Right.
So designing equipment, there's only a handful of companies that can actually do that now, and we're just lucky to be one of those.
Well, that's fantastic. And how long has your company been around as it is?
We're going on 12 years, and I'm going on 31 years in the business.
Wow, wow. And did you start in oil and gas?
So I started in oil and gas. I started working drilling.
Really?
Yes.
Talk to me
So,
for a moment about that. What was
uh,
that like, man?
well, when I got out of the service in the early '90s, um, my dad, who has been in drilling his whole life, he was a tool pusher, um, primarily overseas. But
Hmm.
uh, back in the early '90s, there wasn't a lot of jobs, so it was hard. And so he talked me into doing drilling, and he helped me get a job on a land rig in Mississippi.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, that was my first footprint into the oil and gas industry. And, I didn't know anything different. So we're out there, I trip pipe every day. That was just part of the,
Sure.
the process. And eventually my dad said, man, you need to get offshore because, life's a lot easier. And I'll go out there and I figured out oil and gas is a lot easier in the water.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
But I stayed doing that for almost 4 years.
Hmm.
And then I had a friend of mine who turned me on to a small company, Monosep Corporation.
Okay.
And at the time, in the early '90s, they were a small mom and pop company. They primarily did Gulf of Mexico work.
Okay.
And then in the mid to late '90s, they transitioned into international work, primarily doing Brazil. They did a lot of the FPSO projects there.
Really?
Yep. And then they got bought out in 2006 by Siemens
Yeah. There you
Water
go.
Technology, and we were part of the old U.S. filter conglomerate of different companies.
Wow. Amazing.
Yep. And then in 2013, uh, started doing this. I got tired of the corporate world and everything that comes with that.
Right. Right.
So now I'm on my own.
So do you prefer? I mean, obviously, it's a lot more difficult when your name is on the door,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Obviously. Um, but do you see it working it from this side? You have a lot more freedom and a lot more
Oh, yes.
latitude. Yeah.
Yes. So my company is unique. I believe I have the best water people in the industry. I mean,
And I know that you do. I know for a fact
yeah.
that you do.
Collectively, these guys are amazing. Um, and they all have the freedom to kind of, spread their wings a little bit and grow. And and part of owning your own company is I can give them that freedom. So they're not stuck, on doing certain corporate aspects. We don't
Right.
have those.
Right.
And for that, we're able to get our projects a lot quicker. Our deliveries are a lot better than most companies. And when we make decisions, it's made now, not after board meeting after board meeting and
Right.
lawyer meeting after lawyer meeting. It's not like that for us.
Your organizational structure is much more flat.
Yes.
Okay, there's no
So
hierarchy where, let's say, you have someone who's trying to do something,
Right.
and he's being frustrated, for lack of a better word, by his manager, and
Yes.
then there's that manager,
Mhm.
and then maybe there's someone else, and then maybe there's you.
yes.
When you have a much flatter structure,
Yeah.
when you see there's an issue or someone says, hey, there's something we should follow up on,
Yeah.
you're able to strike.
Yes. And but even that, we do have a management structure, right? And it's a very small pyramid structure. But the character of our company is that when we get like a project in, it's not just the head of our application engineering group doing the work. He has a meeting with the whole team, project management, operations, myself, and we all talk about what we're going to be bidding, what's the best way to bid it. Talk about, and each person has their expertise, right? And we don't, like, for instance, me, I'm very technical. That's the way I came up. And so, I focus on that aspect, and I let my project manager focus on his aspect.
Right.
And so, with our whole team, there's a trust that each person is making the right decisions for one goal, to win the job and then to provide the best equipment we can provide.
Wow. And that's very heartening, because a
Yep.
lot of times you don't hear these kinds of stories.
Right.
You have very talented people,
Yep.
and for lack of a better word, they're either frustrated or stymied
Yes.
by their organizational structure, and
Yep.
that's very unfortunate, because they can't be as agile.
Yep.
But that works out better for you, doesn't it? Because
does.
you're able to come and make a move in a week where it would take others a month.
And not only that, my employees are relaxed. Um, they work very well together. They're a great team. They all maintain the personality of the company, which I find to be, for me, it's very important.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
And they're all family. So, we know everybody's husbands, their wives. We know all of their kids.
Right.
Um, that's what I envisioned when we started the company, and it's only grown since then.
Well, Michael Gerber in the E-Myth Revisited, he says that great companies didn't grow into that. They
Right.
were great companies from the beginning.
That's right.
And if that was the vision that you had,
Yeah.
well, then that was the vision that you created. So
Yes.
I applaud you for that. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And it even rolls upwards, even for our primary owner, the primary investor. It even rolls up to him. He knows all the employees, even though he's not there every day.
Mhm.
He supports us in every aspect, whatever we want to do. He supports us with his wisdom, right, which is valuable to me as a business owner to get a different perspective. So it's all the way from the top all the way to the last guy.
Interesting. And so I want to metaphorically follow that thread, because you said from the top. So one question I had for you is, what's a bit of advice that your dad gave you, or something that your dad believed or he said all the time, that you still carry with you today? That maybe even this morning you did something and you were like,
Oh, it's work ethic
yeah,
and making sure you don't hurt nobody. And I mean hurt. I'm
Yeah.
not talking about safety wise,
right.
but I'm also talking about people's feelings and
Mhm.
the way they look at you.
Right.
Make sure that your reputation is always first. You don't compromise that. And then when you do something for somebody that's paying you, do it right.
Yeah.
And do the best you can do. And then lastly, be honest. If you're having issues or there's hiccups, don't try to hide it. Just be open with the customer and say, hey, we ran into these obstacles. This is what it is, and this is what we want to do about it, but we want it to be transparent. And I think for that, people trust us. And even with, because we have 20 employees, and each one of them, like our service guys, they communicate with the service people that we work with.
Mhm.
The application engineering works with our customers engineering group, project management, so on and so forth. It's being able to relay that same thought process and that same comfort that we're going to be honest with you through all aspects of our business. And then my dad was kind of tough. He didn't believe in spoiling his children.
Mhm.
I got a whole bunch of stories about him.
Mhm.
But
Give me one.
this is a good one.
All right.
So when we moved from Louisiana to Texas, a little East Texas town called Newton,
Okay.
Newton, Texas. Go Eagles!
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles! And we had 15 acres, but the house set on a 2-acre. It was a trailer house on a 2-acre spot. Well, my dad wasn't a real, like, he would buy lawnmowers, but I guess me and my brothers were pretty hard on the equipment, and so they would always break it, and then we wouldn't have to cut the grass. So he worked offshore, And so the day he would leave, we always had a list of things we had to get done before he got back.
Right.
And like kids, we always waited till the last 2 days to get it done. Well, every time he come in, the grass was long. He's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Oh, the lawnmower's broke." And so, my dad, and he's passed away, bless his heart, but he was a huge finger hut guy,
Yeah.
right? So one day when he came in, they had a big box waiting for us, and it was full of electric weed eaters. They were literally about 3 foot long, electric.
Oh, wow.
And he said, "Here's your new lawnmower."
Oh.
So we would have to cut that grass
Oh.
by weed eater.
Oh my God.
And when one would break, we just go get another one because there was no more excuses.
No more.
Yeah. So the funny part of that story is me and my brother. I had 3 brothers. The last one, he was he was spoiled. He was kind of a lazy one. So me and my second brother, we took the guard off of it one day, and we figured out we could let a 2-foot string out without hitting our feet,
Right.
and we can have a 48-inch cut.
Right.
And then we learned if we cut the grass all the way to the dirt, we wouldn't have to cut it for another month. So the first time that happened, my dad rolls in, and by the time he reached the house, his truck was just enveloped with dirt, dust.
Yeah.
He was furious with us. So at that point, he pretty much gave up trying to get on top of us because, yeah. So, but we did the 48 cut thing for most of my high school years.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, I really appreciate that. And I can see, and I really appreciate that because obviously, for most of us that are lucky that had fathers who are involved in our lives,
Yeah.
they really make a really big difference into who we are
Yes.
today.
Oh, it's
and
invaluable.
invaluable. And so I want to thank you for that. And thank you for sharing your story.
I
We hope you
appreciate
come
you.
back
I will.
and you
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit more. Please look into the camera and tell the folks who you are and where you're with.
Edward Godo, Produce Water Solutions out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Our website is www.pwscompany.com.
We're going to put it up on somewhere. We're going to redo it and we're going to put it up there so you can reach out to Ed, reach out to Produce Water Solutions. Anything that you need, I think you already know you're going to talk to the best people. All right. Thank you very much. So everyone, once again, from the Midland Horseshoe Arena, the Produce Water Society Conference 2024. Thank you very much. And we'll catch you on the next interlude. Thank y'all. How was that?